going to be fairly short unless you have lots of questions. I don't have a lot of rollout kinds of points to be discussing. Let's see here. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to do that manually. The only rollout item that I'm aware of that's going to be coming out Thursday evening and into Friday, for those of you that were doing the online R-form system before campus came on board, there was a question about having the R3s show up in campus for you. My understanding is that data is now going to be migrated over into campus for you so that you will have that information. And as I was just talking about that right there. The only other thing that I have here, as far as frequently asked questions and answers, is again a reminder for folks that are sending in information to the help desk to seek assistance. You know, whenever possible, please identify the employee's WID number, their date of injury. I can't tell you how important the date of injury is. We have several employees out there who have been injured several times, and we may find that a first report of injury was filed back in 2016, but if you're dealing with an injury for 2021, of course, that's not going to do any good as far as trying to get assigned and having that claim linked. So provide us that information. If you created a rehab file in a clamshell, it means that you'll have an RT number. Give us the RT, that helps us to look up that information. And of course, if the insurer has provided you with a JCN or claim number through campus, then that also helps us as far as the process. So if you guys can always just really make a point of listing those 5 points as much as you can, that makes our system a lot more effective. The only other thing is if you're requesting that a first report of injury be filed, go ahead and put in this information and indicate who the adjuster is, their phone number, and their their email address, so that our Freud team can follow up with them and get that in the works. The other thing I have, of course, is that there was a question before when there was a change of QRC, and a claim review form was submitted by the QRC or group administrator to DLI to get approval to go ahead and have the file moved over to the new QRC's dashboard. And when a denial came out, it was noted that it was said that, the department has denied your request. If you have any questions, contact the help desk. And we asked about, well, is it possible to go ahead and identify who that person is so that the QRC can follow up directly to find out what was the issue? Why was it denied? Was it because just only the last 4 digits of the Social Security number was provided rather than the full Social Security number or some other information? We asked about going ahead and making this an enhancement so that we could put down Tony's name. We found out that this would be a major enhancement, and that because there were so many other areas of prioritization ahead of that, that's not going to happen for a long time. However, it is something that in the January campus newsletter, January 22nd, we actually did talk about what the workaround is for that. So if you want to refer back to the campus newsletter, which has lots of valuable questions and answers on how to handle stuff to make your lives a lot easier, I would certainly encourage you to do that. And that's about all I have for this time around. Is there any questions that we can answer about this or other points?
Yes, Mike, you have several in the chat from Tom. He says, thank you for listing clients by last names and allowing a list of more than 10. That said, could you edit the list of document types that we have with many of our rehab forms from the currently very, very long list to the few we actually use? For me, that would include the R&R, the R2, initial evaluation report, PPR narrative, closure report, PPR report, RCR, R2, R3, RCR narrative, retraining plan, cover pages for those forms. There must be well over 50 descriptions to scroll through to find anything I actually use. He also says, I'm finding about half of my referrals for consultations are lacking a first report of injury, and if the FROI exists, it's missing the average weekly wage. I understand that it's a claim shell process, but when I have multiple forms as claim shells, there are no names on my client's list on my list of forms, making it cumbersome to open multiple mystery forms to get the one I need. I have the same issue for my client list, open rehab cases with no names that I can see. Is there a way to attach the name to the files to the claim shell status?
And the answer to that is those are all excellent feedback items to send in. In fact, the more folks that are sending in those as feedback items, quite frankly, the better it goes up on the list of priority. Right now, rehab providers are just one small group that is utilizing the campus system. Of course, there's insurers, TPAs, there's attorneys, there's healthcare providers, which of course is in part one of the reasons that you have that 1 to 50 list of items to be picking from, um, as far as trying to figure that piece out. But it is a good thought to go ahead and when you put into the email subject line, put that as quote unquote feedback for future enhancement. And when I say future enhancement, of course, the idea here is that what they're looking at is what are the higher priorities and what is going to, quite frankly, how much money do we have in the pool to be able to make these kinds of fixes, whether it be for insurers, for rehab, for attorneys, etc. But, you know, the online R form system didn't turn out perfectly when we was first started out back in what was that 2008 2009, but as the years progressed the system got better because of the recommendations that were being made by QRCs at the time and throughout the process on how we could improve our system. So continue to do that and provide that information. And yeah, obviously if we could have the name listed next to that RT number for the missing Froys, that is a really great suggestion. Please make sure that you go ahead and submit that too as a feedback item. Other questions?
Tom also asked, at what point will closed files no longer appear in our lists of rehab cases?
Um, that's a 6 of 1, half a dozen of the other question. In part, what you see on your dashboard is when you see that the claim is, or you see the word open, it means that the claim is open. And it's not, has nothing to do with the rehabilitation file. It actually has to do with the actual insurer's claim being open. So that part is not going to change for a long time. As far as the closed files, rehab files being mixed with the currently open and active rehab files, we have received feedback that it would be great to go ahead and be able to move the closed rehab files into like a closed rehab files tab. That is something that has been noted, and it is a point for future enhancement. As to when that will happen, I don't have an answer for that. Again, it comes down to the priority of not only the rehab providers, but the other stakeholders needing to have changes made in the system for their ability to do work also.
Sally asks, are notices being emailed for administrative hearings and conferences to group admins?
And the answer is they should be receiving notices if they are signed up to receive notices. But quite frankly, what I would recommend that you do is contact our ADR unit and ask for either Aaron Ferguson or Brian Mack. And that number is 651-284-5600. 5030 to go ahead and confirm that that is actually happening and or what needs to be done to help facilitate that. And I the reason I'm saying that you need to contact them is because our ADR unit deals with all disputes, motions to intervene, rehab responses, that type of stuff. And so that's why you need to direct your questions and answers to that particular department.
Angela just responded to contact Aaron Frederickson, and I can talk in regards to this a little bit because I do this for VRU. Anything that I receive from the department through ADR is usually mailed to me and not emailed to me. Um, but anything from Office of Administrative Hearings comes directly from Office of Administrative Hearings. Your next question from Joanna is she has some files that should be marked closed but continue to list a status as open. Should I let it be or email you a list of the ones that should be closed?
Seems like we've got somebody who's got an open mic here. Oh, that's better. Uh, and I responded to this earlier in that you're going to see open on your dashboard because the actual insurance claim is open. And so it doesn't matter that you closed your rehab file. There is stuff that the insurer is still doing, whether it's paying benefits, doing surgeries, doing settlement, whatever. So if you see open on your dashboard, ignore it. It has nothing to do with your rehabilitation file. If the RA's been filed, it's with the department. You see it in your documents. So it's closed.
Mike,
Yeah.
can I get a clarification on Joanna's question? Because that does occur when we're doing investigations also. And it appears to be a data migration issue. The claim has documents that show that the rehab case had been closed with an R8, but the migrated data shows an RT that's open with only an RCR migrated. And I think in that case, if it shows up as an open case, that should have been one that migrated over as closed, but didn't. I shouldn't. Should that be one that she brings to the help desk and says, "Can this be closed?" There's an R8 filed in the claim, but the RT is still open. It didn't migrate over correctly.
Yeah, and it would absolutely make sense if the file should be closed in that form and fashion for so long ago. Absolutely.
Okay, so on that one, I think for Joanna, that if you do come across those and you know that that was a closed file, that would be one you could ask for someone to go in and manually close it if they can find the R8 that was filed. In some cases, many years ago.
Okay, then Sally asks, change of QRC process and filing the R3 in lieu of the PPR does not work for admins, but appears to work for QRCs. Is there a solution in the works?
Would you repeat that again?
Yes, change of QRC process and filing the R3 in lieu of a PPR does not work for admins, but it appears to work for a QRC. Is there a solution in the works?
I guess I'm not aware of that problem that a group administrator can't file a PPR or work on the change of QRC process. I mean, you can't do the crossover where one starts it and then the group administrator tries to take over from that end. But the group administrator, if they started off fresh, should be able to carry that all through. Sally, what I would recommend is we go ahead and schedule a Teams meeting and take a look at exactly what's happening so that if it's a bug, we can write that up.
There are currently no questions at this time. If anybody else has a question, you can either unmute or type it in the chat.
Anyone going once? Going twice? Yeah, and I don't see that Brad Morris is on, so I guess we can close if there are no other questions. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for your questions. Good points for us to be thinking about. So have yourself a good day.